welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So you have something really big that's going on in your life right now, right?
Yeah, I actually just started my...
Welcome to another episode of Paris, Texas, a podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Dead Cat. If you guys are not aware, Dead Cat is what powers this podcast. We have a studio downtown. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us all over the place. Come, check us out, hang out with us. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I actually just started my own podcast.
What?
Called Everyday Theologian. So we talk about the Bible, theology topics, and apart from that, I'm also doing like courses for people to understand how to navigate their Bible and study on their own.
That's awesome.
And I also wrote a kid's book.
You're writing a kid's book?
Yeah, it is coming back from editing hopefully this week. So.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
What age frame?
Early childhood, so like 2 to 6 probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie Rose, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Last time I forgot to say the person's name. I'm going to rattle myself. Leah was like in the background of the podcast with a piece of paper said, did you say their name?
Yeah, how many podcasts have you been doing?
So it's like we're really close to 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I should learn from you.
I don't know that I can accept that.
Well, I will be.
Okay.
I will be learning from you.
Now, okay, so you got a podcast, but this is your first time ever being on Not Your Podcast.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And I will be actually having guests on my show.
Really?
Starting next month. So this is good practice for me.
Awesome.
To have the dialogue.
Awesome. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to save podcast talk for the end.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yes.
Because I want to go out I want to go through the beginning of your life, and then we're going to get to the end, not end of your life, but the end of your story where we're at right now.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about podcasts.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, sounds
okay,
good.
I want to do one thing. Everybody's going to see this, though. I'm going to fix this. I need it to be a little more right here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so, Charlie Rose.
Yes.
Where were you born?
I was born in Rockwall.
Rockwall.
Yes, but I didn't ever live there. We lived in Greenville.
Okay.
So
I've lived in Greenville.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
When?
I right out of high school, I moved to the Garland, Greenville area.
Okay.
I worked at a place called Babe's Chicken Dinner House.
No,
Familiar with it?
No. It sounds good.
Yeah, they do everything family style. So like if you order fried chicken, they bring like a plate like piled up with fried chicken. If you order like the sides, you get like a giant bowl of corn and a giant bowl of okra, and then you have spoons, and then you just spoon out what you want onto your plate, like literally family style.
That sounds so good. Is that still open?
I have not been in several years, but it was really good. It was really good food. Okay, so how long did you live there?
I lived in Greenville for 8 years, and then we moved to Paris.
Okay.
So.
How much of that do you remember?
I remember quite a bit.
Okay.
I went to Greenville Christian School.
Okay, awesome.
And then when we moved over here, I went to Prairie Land.
Okay.
And that's where I graduated from.
So when you moved here, what grade were you in?
It was in 3rd grade.
3rd grade, okay. And what school did you go to? Here,
Prairie Land.
Prairie Land. Okay, yeah. You said that. Sorry. My brain's trying to catch up.
But you went to North Lamar, right?
Yeah, well, I went to Paris until I think it was like 3rd or 4th grade, and then I came to North Lamar.
So you know what it's like. It's kind of hard in 3rd grade to transition to a new school.
I was a bad kid. I think, yeah. I feel like, I don't know if it was just me being a bad kid or if there was the transition factor, or my mom was a single mom earlier in my life, so then there was a stepdad in the picture, and so there was a whole lot of stuff that happened all in that time frame. But I was a hard kid. Okay, so you came here, you were going to Prairie Land. How long did it take you to kind of acclimate to Prairie Land?
I would say probably 3rd grade was a transitional period, meeting people who wants to play with me on the playground, right? But then 4th grade, I was having slumber parties at my house. So, yeah.
So you acclimated quick.
I made some friends.
Awesome. And so did you go to Prairie Land all the way through graduation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your thing like growing up during that time frame? Like, were you a band person? Were you soccer? Like, what was your thing?
I played basketball.
Okay.
And I really wanted to be in the WNBA, but I was terrible. So nobody actually told me I was terrible. My parents came to every game and told me like I was the star of the team. But yeah, I quickly found out, well, it was actually not quick because it was until varsity that I realized like, wow, I'm really bad.
Okay, this poses a question. So as a parent, you're a parent, right?
I'm a parent now.
Okay, yeah. So as a parent now, I know we're fast forwarding a little bit, but as a parent now, do you feel like telling your kids like they could be in the WNBA if they want to? Do you do that, or do you be more, because like my middle son wants to be a astronaut influencer on YouTube.
Oh wow,
that's his thing right now.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I asked him, what does that mean? And he's like, I want to go into space and do a YouTube channel.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, because kids don't want to be movie stars anymore. They want to be YouTube stars.
Okay.
I firmly believe that. Every kid I talk to loves YouTube, watching YouTube stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, dude, you're gonna have to start taking math classes if that's what you want to be. Like, you're gonna have to start figuring out what it takes to be an astronaut. I can teach you the camera stuff. I got you there, but I can't help you with the astronaut stuff.
Yeah.
Do you build that hope in them?
I say build it for a little while and see if they can acquire a skill.
Mm-hmm.
And then if not, maybe transition into something else, like another sport or...
Is that what happened? So did your parents do that with you?
No.
They just kept with the WNBA?
Yes. Here's another example. I'm a horrible singer.
Okay.
I sound like it's really bad. Okay. I could give you a lot of analogies, but it's just really bad. And my parents in middle school, they told me I was so good that I actually entered the school talent show and sang. Yeah. So, and then it was at the talent show, I realized I was really bad at singing.
Okay.
Because other people, sing good.
Yeah.
There was actually another kid shooting spit wads at me. But I try to push that back in my mind. So, yeah, I think we should tell them before stuff like that.
Before they go on stage.
Yes.
Like, you build them up, but they're like, hey, Dad, I'm thinking about going on stage. And then you're like, well, slowly roll.
Yeah.
Let's maybe get you some classes or like maybe some professional help, and then we'll talk about stage
Yes.
stuff. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Okay, so did you play basketball all the way up to senior year?
Yes.
Did you have any other like were you in choir or?
No, it was not in choir.
Okay, that would have helped with singing.
They should have put me in choir. I played volleyball.
Okay, awesome.
Realized I wasn't very good, so I became the team manager.
That's a skill too.
Yes. That way I could still go with my friends and, go to the dinners and stuff, hang out. So I did that, and then I was a cheerleader.
Okay, awesome.
So
You had a lot of extracurricular stuff.
Yeah. Well-rounded. Cool. Not good at much, but well-rounded.
So, okay, and through high school, were you still thinking like, okay, I'm going to the WNBA? Or did you have any other like, I kind of could also be this?
I thought about nursing.
Okay.
And I actually, in college, did major in nursing.
Okay.
But I changed my major.
And what year is this? Like school year? Like graduating year?
This is like probably senior year when everyone's pressuring you about what are you going to do with your life?
Okay.
Which that's kind of daunting to an 18-year-old. What do you think?
I'll 100% agree. So, okay, story for me. It was like every meeting you go with a counselor or with a teacher that you kind of connect with, it's always like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you love doing? How do you want to do that for a living? And that was like the question I feel like I was asked a million times in my senior year. And for me, it was always, I want to travel.
Nice.
Right? And I did do a lot of traveling, but I struggled finding the career, which a lot of people said military, and I kind of thought about that and looked into it and then just decided it wasn't for me. I love my military, don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing on them. It didn't fit for me specifically at that stage of my life, and I didn't pursue it. But I never could really find the right job that like allowed me to travel and if I grew up in this day and age, I would be the bus guy that converted his bus to a camper and then just drove around America, and probably some sort of influence. I think that's what I would be if I was a high school kid graduating. That's what I would do now.
Okay. But you could still do that. No. A little harder with your family, probably.
Yeah. I don't know how my wife would feel about living in a bus. I joke with her sometimes and say, we should do this. And she's like, no. Aww. Actually, my brother, he's graduating from Baylor, I think, here pretty soon. And he is building his bus right now.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. So he's going to travel.
That's their plan. He's got one child and one on the way. Awesome. And they are researching it, and they're madly looking into it. They want to have like a little garden on the front window. He sends me Marco Polos and like does me little like bus walks every time there's an update to it. And
I love that.
He's like, this is where the shower's going to be, and this is where the main room's going to be. And I get a little jealous sometimes. I'm like, man.
And he's just going to work on the road.
So he's actively trying to find a job that will allow him to be able to work on the road.
Nice.
So that is his plan, but he doesn't have that yet.
See, I feel like now there's more flexibility in being a senior. Mm-hmm. And like, what are you going to do with your life, right? Mm-hmm. That sounds awesome.
Right.
That would not have flew.
No, yeah, not in our time frame. Yeah. No. Okay, so you're graduating, you looked into nursing enough, and then you went to college, and you started going to college for nursing.
Yes.
Explain that a little bit to me.
So I actually got an LVN license.
Okay.
But there's still more education behind that you would have to kind of, you can stop at an LVN, but a lot of people want to continue to get your RN or BSN. Mm-hmm. So there was more college on the horizon for me. But after I graduated with my LVN, I actually went and joined YWAM.
Okay.
For 6 months.
Awesome.
And I met Leah Emerson over there,
Yay.
Who I'm sure you guys know.
Very familiar with.
So I spent 6 months in Australia and Papua New Guinea. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole nother story in itself. But that was...
No, that's the story.
Oh.
We're here for your story.
We're here for the story.
New Guinea. People want to know about Papua New Guinea.
Okay. So through YWAM, I took some Bible classes. Mm-hmm. And then I had the opportunity to go on like a long-term mission trip. I say long-term, a couple months. Mm-hmm. And my now husband, Colby Rose, he came to visit me during that time. And when I got back home, we got married.
Awesome.
And then quickly after that, we signed up to go to YWAM together.
Awesome.
So we did 6 months together at the same base where Leah was, and spent the same time doing Bible classes and mission work.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
So tell us about, was the base in Papua New Guinea, or were you based somewhere else and then you went to Papua New Guinea?
So the place that I took the Bible classes was in Townsville, Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, it was fun. Townsville is like far north. So like if you think of Sydney, most people think like Sydney, Australia, that's in the south. So I wasn't really in a tourist area, but it was fun to me. Right? Like I was the tourist there.
One of my bucket list places to go is Australia. I would love to go there.
Where at would you like to go?
I don't know, because I've never been.
Okay.
I would have to ask Leah, and then she would be like, this is like first place you have to go here, and then she would give me a whole list of places to go.
Yes. Sydney, definitely. The Opera House.
The Opera House. I mean, that's probably the most notable place for Australia, I feel like.
Yes. But you've done traveling?
I have. So I've been to Haiti. I've been to, I spent a long time in Mexico, like a month and a half.
Wow.
I spent almost a month in Beijing.
Wow.
So yeah, I've done a little bit here and there.
And what were you doing when you were
most of them were mission trips.
Okay.
I also lived in Hawaii for a little bit. We talked about that earlier. But most of them were mission trips and longer, not super long term, but like kind of medium long term. If that makes sense. Like it wasn't like a week long, but it was a little longer. And One of them was with an internship I did for like a leadership academy called 24/7. One of them was with one of my home churches at the time. And then the other one, I feel like I'm forgetting one. Anyway, I've done several of them.
Okay. But you were not living here in Paris and doing
the
all
only
that.
one that I was living here in Paris was Haiti.
Okay.
I was living in Paris and I went with the church, and that was probably the shortest missions trip that I did. It was more of like a week and a half ish. It was
Okay.
like 14 days or something like that.
None with your children?
No,
Okay.
I haven't taken my children yet. But my wife's also been several places. She's been to Germany. We, depending on which story you get from which person, we halfway met on the Beijing trip.
Okay.
And there's a whole Great Wall of China story there, which I've told on the podcast. And then where else has she been? She's been somewhere else that I'm not thinking of.
Doing mission work?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Doing mission work, yeah. So we definitely love that kind of world. We haven't done it much since we've had kids.
Yeah.
My Haiti trip, I think I had Liam, but I didn't. He was very young. So yeah.
And now it's a little bit harder with COVID.
It is definitely harder, and I hadn't. Well, COVID and running a business has definitely changed my lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah.
So I hadn't been able to do as much of that as I probably would like to do.
Yeah. We can't buy a bus right now.
I can't buy a bus right now. No. All right. So you've spent a year in Papua New Guinea.
Yes.
So you're married.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Tell me that story. But how did y'all meet?
Colby and I met when he was in college, going to PJC, and I was a senior in high school.
Okay.
So we had friends that dated each other.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh, y'all have to meet." You know what it's like. And so
they set you up.
They set us up.
Yeah.
And then they broke up.
Oh no.
But we stayed together.
Oh.
So that's okay though.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both doing well now.
Okay, good. Sometimes it's just better apart.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So what was it like? Like, what was that like? Did you know right away?
I feel like Colby knew right away.
Okay.
But I kind of thought he was a little strange when I first met him. Yeah. Looking back and listening to him, he was just nervous.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying, you need to go out one more time with him because he's probably nervous. So I did, and we ate Italian food. Mm-hmm. I actually ate more than him that night. I was so hungry. And he'll tell you that's when he was like, wow, this is going to be my wife because I could eat a lot of food. I don't know why. He thought that was impressive.
That's awesome.
But so we've now been married for 6 years.
Awesome.
So, and how long have you been married?
We just did this. I messed up. Coming up on 14.
Wow.
In May, I believe.
That's
I think I said
awesome.
15, and she was like, it's not 15. I was like, I feel like it's 15, and then she was right. I think it's coming up on 14.
So you guys have lived your married life mostly in Paris.
Yeah, there's 6 to 8 months that we lived in Colorado after we got married, and then we came here.
Nice.
So we're 4 or 5 years away from Kimmy living in Texas longer than she lived in Colorado.
And that's where she's from?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she's a Texan.
She's
almost a Texan.
She's almost. I catch her saying some Texan things every now and again, and I'm like, ooh, babe. She throws in a y'all or something very Texan, and I was like, I've done it. You're now a Texan.
Yes.
Okay, so where did y'all get married? Here or?
We got married in Mount Pleasant, just like 50 minutes away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So y'all are married. Y'all are in Papua New Guinea. Did y'all think that y'all were going to stay in that? Because I know some people can be like lifetime YWAMers. Like, it's like a career path for some people.
So we did think about continuing joining staff with YWAM. But when we got home from our 6-month school, basically, it's called a discipleship training school, Colby was offered a job working with my dad.
Awesome.
My dad owns a plumbing business here in Paris. So he accepted that job, but I wanted to continue my Bible education.
Okay.
And through YWAM, I would have had that opportunity.
Gotcha.
So I kind of had to look at, okay, well, what other things could I do to learn more? And I enrolled at Dallas Baptist University.
Awesome.
And I got my undergrad in intercultural studies.
Awesome.
And that's a fancy term for mission work.
Okay.
So I still thought, like, we're going to, at some point.
You went to school thinking, I'm going to go back to college and get educated to possibly still do mission work.
Yes.
Okay.
Paid a lot of money to be a missionary. And that doesn't pay that well, right?
Right.
So it didn't work out that way. Colby continued working with the company.
Okay.
And we had our first child.
Okay.
Named Sophie. And no place in Paris really wanted to hire me for mission work.
Yeah.
Right?
That would be hard.
So I decided, well, I'm going to go back to school
Okay.
to learn more about the Bible.
I feel like, how do you go wrong there?
Right.
Right.
Colby asks me sometimes, he's like, are you ever going to do anything that makes you money? I don't know yet. I'm not sure.
You're still figuring that out.
So I'm currently enrolled at Dallas Theological Seminary.
Okay.
Colby is still working with my dad's business.
Okay.
He's actually part owner now. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, it worked out. And we had another baby.
Okay.
So you see like the change with the family, but still my desire is just to go to school.
You're going to be a lifetime school
Right.
person. I've met people that are actually like that. They'll take like one class every semester and they just always stay in school.
I know. There's something about learning.
Yeah?
What do you think?
I'm more of a hands-on, I'm a YouTube learner for sure.
Okay.
Let me see you do it, then let me do it, and let me see you do it, and then let me do it, and that's how I learn. I tried college once for a very short amount of time, and it did not jive well with me.
Okay. That's okay.
But I do love learning, and I love trying to teach people my, things that I'm decent at. But I've actually had several schools offer me like a video teaching job.
Wow.
But I'm like, I didn't go to college for this. I'm not educated in this. I'm a push a button. Ooh, that's the wrong button to push. Don't push that button again.
Yes.
And then like almost label it, don't push button, and then you push something else, and you're like, oh, that's what that button does.
Yes.
That's way easier than the way I've been doing it this whole time. So I'm more of that kind of a learning kind of process guy. So I don't know that teaching other kids to learn that way would work out for me.
Well, you could tell them what not to do, right?
I could tell them what not to do.
And then say,
Well, and that's not necessarily true though, because that button has a purpose and it works. And if I was educated better on how it is, and this is a pretty broad thing, but I could probably teach them how to do it right versus what I've learned not to do, and there's in the back of my head labeled don't do that. There's always a right way to do it.
yes, yeah,
Maybe you're supposed to push that button second.
exactly.
You push this button, then that button. But now I'm just like, I don't want to push that button because when I push that button, it messed everything up.
Yeah.
I do that a lot in Photoshop or Premiere, behind that kind of editing software.
Okay.
I push a button and everything goes black, and I'm like, what did I do? Why is there no image on here?
And then you push more buttons.
And then figure out why you're actually supposed to push that button.
Okay. See, that works.
Yeah.
You could totally teach people.
But it only took me 10 years to figure all that out.
That's the education process, right?
Yes.
We just did it differently.
Yes. I think most of all so I've talked about this in the podcast, what I love is giving resources and opportunity to kids. So me growing up in small town America, there weren't cameras. Our yearbook department had one camera, and there was one person that was in charge of the camera. So there wasn't a lot of getting to learn. That we're talking 20 something years ago. We're not talking now. They definitely have more resources now, but they don't have the resources that Dead Cat has.
Yeah.
So something I would love to be able to do is possibly team up with some of the schools and giving them opportunities to come and be on set with us and see some of these bigger cameras and see some of the stuff that we do, so that then they have the experience going out of high school that I could do something like this.
Yeah.
It is achievable. Where
So you may do that with schools?
I've talked, like we've brought it up to them, so it would be early in the conversation but there's a lot of like, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because I don't like. We would love to have a student, if they were wanting to come up and kind of intern, and they could do it out of school. But I would also love to like partner with the school and then say, like, if they're in co-op or something and they wanted to spend maybe they're in an arts class or a theater arts class, they could spend their theater arts class and come here and learn about like camera art. Like, you know what I mean?
That would be incredible.
But I don't know, like, in the politics of school, I don't know how that looks. Does that make sense?
With like the accreditation.
Yeah,
and all
like, can they send, like, we're not actual teachers, we're not actually employees of the school. Can they even send students to us like that?
Okay.
So I don't know. It's been a thought that I've thought about, but and I've brought it up in conversations with people, but it's never come to like, oh yeah, let's do that.
I hope it does.
Yeah, you never know.
That's fun.
I mean, it would be a cool opportunity.
If I was in school, I would sign up.
Right?
That sounds
And
fun.
we have two girls that we've worked a lot with from North Lamar who have come on sets with us. We had one girl, she was running, so we did this short film a while back, and we rented the group of like the guy running it rented it, but we were there, so he rented these big time cameras, and there was like a $30,000 lens on a camera.
Wow.
And so both the girls got an opportunity to run a camera that was worth lots of money, right? And so like I would have loved that opportunity in high school, and to know. And I think one of them is going to school for like video and production.
Wow. And you gave her that experience.
Yeah, well, some of that experience. She had that eagerness before but we gave her some experience and some like opportunities to kind of dip a little bit more into it. She was actually touring a school the other day, and she texted us how she was going into their like cage. We have a cage here at Dead Cat, but they had a cage on their campus, and she was like, "There's a red camera," which is a really expensive camera. "There's a red camera sitting on a shelf right in front of me."
Wow.
And Leah texted back, "Grab it and run." So, and she said, "But I don't have a purse big enough to stick in." And I said, "You're young, you're fast, just run."
Yeah, run with it.
Yeah.
Go.
So, but yeah, so it's cool to see that kind of stuff. It'd be cool to have more of that as we go forward.
Yeah. And then you get to see her progress.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then maybe she comes back home and wants to have a job down the road, and come on.
Here you are.
Come on to Dead Cat. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. Sorry, we got off on me a little bit.
No, I enjoyed that.
Okay, so where are we at? Okay, so you're back in school. At what point? Let's dip into podcasts.
Okay.
At what point did you decide that you wanted to start this venture?
So this venture came when I felt like I had learned so much from the education that I've had the opportunity to experience, and wanted to share that with other people.
Okay.
So not everyone through their life wants to go to school or has the opportunity to go to school, but may want to know more about their Bible.
Okay.
Or more about theology topics. So I had the idea to start Everyday Theologian, because really every person is a theologian to some degree.
Right.
Theology is just the study of God. So if anyone has had thoughts about God or conversations about God, then they're a theologian. It's just, are we accurate?
Right.
Are we, lining up with Scripture? So the podcast is a free opportunity for people to hear study tips. I just did a walkthrough from Genesis to Revelation. And then I'm going to have more people on the show to talk about theology topics. So,
sorry guys, we are at the Dead Cat Studios. I brought this up in a podcast before. We do our videos like here at the studio, and we are still open. So if you hear the doorbell or if you hear people in the background, that's just part of it. You're on this journey with us. It's part of the story.
yes. It makes it more
It makes
real.
it more real, yeah. I was telling you, and I tell this to almost every guest, like my original plan, I started this in like 2018, and my original plan was to have it at coffee shops.
Yes,
And
that's awesome.
I was gonna bounce around to different coffee shops and have guests at different coffee shops, and then you would have the real like people talking in the background and all that kind of stuff would happen around you, and then it kind of felt more like you were part of a conversation of friends happening, right then and there. So I kind of like that there's occasional disruptions. Like I think that's again part of our story.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, sidebarred. So you started with a podcast, but there's more to it than a podcast, right?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, I just wrote a kid's book.
Awesome.
So it's over.
That's really exciting. I didn't know that. I knew some of the other stuff, but I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it wasn't the original plan. I wrote a women's Bible study. It's 4 weeks over what is the Bible.
Okay.
And not necessarily the stories in the Bible, but what is this book that we're told to read?
Okay.
And how do we read it? And through that, I put in so much effort into the women's study that I was really quickly able to write a kid's book with the same material.
Okay.
So the kid's book is over bibliology.
Okay.
How the Bible is, Christians believe inerrant and infallible, right?
Okay.
It's true and it has no error. So the kid's book doesn't say big theology terms, but it teaches all of the theology.
The basics.
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell me? So is it published and coming back?
So it just got done this week. It'll be done with the editor.
Editor. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's what you're waiting for that to come back.
And then it'll go to illustration.
Okay.
Yeah.
How hard was it to figure out all of that? Because were you educated in how to write a book, or did you just do a lot of research, or like?
I was educated on how to write like 15-page papers.
Okay.
And then get them back with a lot of red marks on them, right? That was always super fun. I'm still in that process too. It's super fun. But no, so I had some connections.
Okay.
And I was able to reach out to an editor that I know. I don't know her in depth, but I know her. And then I have the illustrator. We have a mutual friend.
Okay.
So that worked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, because I feel like this could be a great time to inspire people, because I love creativity. I love art. I feel like I'm a strong believer that everyone's an artist to some extent, kind of like your theologian thought. And people often say, well, I'm just not creative. Well, if you lay concrete, there is an art to laying concrete, right? And even a plumber, like there's an art. Like I had to fix something the other day, and it was like impossible. I had to call a guy who was like had that skill. And maybe it doesn't necessarily look like a painting. Sorry, my nose is just
a little itch.
It's probably a beard hair tickling my nose or something. And so I think there's an aspect, or even if you're a plumber, but you also do this other thing. Like I think there's an aspect of art in everyone. Anyway, I feel like this is a great opportunity for someone who's always thought about writing a book to be reassured that like someone who knows nothing.
Yes.
Well, not nothing, but knows very little about the process of writing a book and getting it done, can do it. So do you feel like, is there any words that you can inspire someone with on that?
Absolutely. I am not a child's author, right? That's not something that I do, but I had an idea and I felt like it could be helpful for people. So I just went for it.
Awesome.
And during this process, there has been hiccups, right? When I talk to people, when I talk to the editor, in my emails, I literally say things like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you give me some help, right? I just have to be humble in the process and say, there's other people who are smarter in their creativity, right?
Right.
And let's help each other.
Well, and that's their job. Like, that's their job. They've probably, like, you get in your head and you think, like, they're so annoyed dealing with me because I don't know what I'm doing. But probably the honest truth is they're dealing with people who are new at it on a daily basis.
Yes.
So they're not probably annoyed that you don't know what you're doing. They're probably probably actually relieved that you're being frank about it and being like, hey, I know that I don't know what I'm doing. If you just tell me what I need to do, I could do that.
Exactly. Yes. So anybody who wants literally to do anything, like how you were saying your son wants to go to space, let's give it a go.
Right.
And then if, down the road we realize, wow, this really isn't my sport, like basketball really wasn't my sport, let's navigate to find what is our thing.
Right. I did this thing, so I remember it was about 10 years ago. I was wanting to get, because I've been kind of doing video creative stuff. My side hustle side of it started probably about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And then, it didn't become a full-fledged business right away. It took several weekends and side jobs and things to get me to where I was doing. I think a lot of people see what little success I have now and think that it just happened and I'm just a super creative guy. No, it took 10 years to build.
Yeah.
But I specifically remember a moment about 10 years ago where I said, okay, I'm going to spend, I forgot what the exact time frame was, but I think it was like an hour a day either doing or learning.
That's awesome.
So I was either going to do some sort of video, whether it was bad or good or whatever. And we're talking about starting with the cheapest camera. Phones weren't as good, but I did use phones. I think I had an iPhone at that time, but they weren't like they are now. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about free software. I didn't spend a lot of money. I just did it. Mm-hmm. Or I got on YouTube and I found, someone who was doing tutorials on videos and I watched it for an hour.
Yeah.
And so I implemented that. And I feel like the moment I implemented that, opportunities started coming.
Wow.
Right? Not even I wasn't even putting it out there. I don't know if it was just kind of like a God thing. I took the step to implement something new in my life, and then He brought me opportunities. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I feel like it can kind of be similar to what you did, where you did all that work on the paper before, right? Mm-hmm. And then you saw the opportunity to kind of shift it into the children's book, but there were steps you had to take.
Yes.
So, anyway, I don't know why that was a whole soapbox side rant I just did there.
No, it was encouraging.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that being said, I feel like anyone listening to this, if you feel like you have a great idea and you feel like you have, just spend a little bit of time and start pouring into it. Mm-hmm. Because there is a world where you could publish your own book. Yes. Or you can be a videographer, or you can do whatever artistic thing you like, draw, paint. Lay concrete. There's a lot of things you could do.
I will say one thing that has been so helpful for me is, one, I feel like God has blessed me with great friends. Mm-hmm. And, maybe you're listening and you think, oh, yeah, I have that one friend too that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Share with those people that you trust. Share your ideas. Mm-hmm. And the kids' book that I wrote, I literally sat a handful of my friends down and I was like, I'm going to read this to you like you're 2. Yeah.
I want you to pretend like you're 2 years old. Right. And I'm going to read this to you and I'm going to pretend like you're 2 years old.
So I just read it with the excitement, you know? Yeah. And after, also the friends you trust, you want them to be honest with you, right? That's obviously part of the trusting process. Yeah. So at the end, I said, okay, real feedback. And they said, wow, we love that, and I felt like, too, that they were being sincere because they could have told me if I needed to correct things. Yeah. So I would just encourage you, if you have ideas, share those with people you trust, because that's really when they're born.
Right. And they're going to rally behind you and champion you to finish it. It's almost like by doing something like that, you're sort of painting yourself in a corner to continue to do it, right? Yes. Because then the next time you see your friend, they're going to be like, how's your book project coming? And you're going to be like, well, I kind of fell off of it. And hopefully if they're a good friend, they're like, don't. You were onto something good. Yeah. Keep pushing forward. You've got this. We had a pastor once that always said, show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
That's so true.
And I'm like, that's it. The people you put around you are the people that are going to champion you to be the better you. Mm-hmm. That's good.
And be excited. Right?
Yeah, and be excited for you. I remember, one of my closest friends, Greg Key, we've worked at several churches together, but he remembers 10 years ago me talking about my dream, right?
Okay.
And so now I'm living my dream, and he remembers when it was just like we were sitting at a coffee table doing this, and I was just telling him like, I want to do, I want to have a media company, I want to do this, I want to do that. It might not have looked exactly like this, but I mean, it was definitely in this realm. And he tells me all the time, like, it's such a treat being able to, and this is his words, being able to see you live what you thought of 10 years ago.
That's awesome.
But a lot of that is having a Greg Key in your life that's championing you to do those things. Anyway.
And 10 years later, excited for you to see it happen.
Right. Okay, so you got the podcast, you got the book, and you've got the class.
Yes, that is also, so the women's class is, it's still in editing as well.
Okay.
The same editor is looking over that, so I can make sure it's a good document that I share. And then I have, of course, merchandise.
Okay.
I feel like, that's a staple, right? You have to have your merchandise.
You got something.
So I have this shirt, actually, it says Theology Matters.
Okay.
And I have some other ones as well.
Awesome.
But, yeah.
Can people find that stuff right now?
Yes, yeah. I have a website,
Okay.
everydaytheologian.life.
Okay.
And my biggest project for this year is to have an in-person women's conference.
Yay.
So, and the hope of that would be another avenue to help women feel comfortable with their Bible.
Yeah, that's awesome. How big would you want to do that to be?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't really have a cap on it right now, but really as many people that want to come. Yeah. So.
That's awesome. So they can find you on the website. Is there anywhere else they can find and keep up with what's going on?
Facebook.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page, Everyday Theologian. And on Instagram, I have, it's Everyday Theologian as well.
Good job.
Just trying to keep it steady,
keep
right?
it simple, yeah.
So one cool thing on Instagram that I like to do each week is Bible trivia.
Yay.
So I know some people like to quiz themselves. So I just post questions on and they can play the game. But so that's what I'm up to.
I feel like that could be another book for you, like a tabletop book.
Bible trivia?
Bible trivia. Right?
Right, that's a good one.
Not a bad idea. Yeah. If you're already doing them, just kind of bookmark them.
Yes.
And then after you've done, 100 or so, start picking out the best ones or the ones. Oh, sorry. This is a great idea. Do like an Instagram-styled Bible trivia book.
Okay.
So it would look like Instagram and you have your post up there, but then you could post some of your favorite comments, people's comments to the trivia in the book.
I'm going to need your help with that.
I can help you with that. That's a cool idea, though, right? Like, because there's more, so Bible study, there's some of my favorite part is like hearing other people's thoughts and processes and the way is, same in art, like the way another person sees something is so different than the way I'm going to see it. Like I feel like I'm a very outside of the box person. So I see stuff very different, but it's so refreshing to see it from other people. So it'd be a cool thought on a book, because you have trivia, but then what, like, why did this person think it meant this, or why did they go this other direction? I don't know. It's a cool idea.
Okay, you just planted that in my mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have, sorry, and you may not want to say this, but do you have any like big ideas for future, like a few years down the road? I'd really like to do this project.
One thing that I would love to see happen is the study that I wrote for women. I would love to continue to create that content. Right now, I will be teaching this study.
Okay.
So I'm going to have the opportunity for people to like sign up and be a part of it.
Awesome.
My long-term goal would be for other people to be able to teach it in their own small groups, in their own churches. So I could only go so far with the content, right? But if more people feel comfortable teaching others the same content, then it could really go farther. Yeah. So that's a dream.
Yeah, that's a great dream.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you about it in like a year.
Okay, yeah. You be the Greg.
Where are you at with that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thanks for asking me. This was fun.
It was fun.
I am excited to hear all of the interviews that you're going to do.
Yeah.
Is this weekly?
Yeah, we're going weekly. I've got like 6. I think you're the 6th one in that's recorded.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get ahead. We recorded several, and the first one, as of us recording this, there's only been one that's been released.
Okay, awesome.
You're going to probably, when this is actually released, there's probably going to be several that have been released. Obviously, everyone before you have been released. So there's several of those. We've got some really cool guests. I'm really excited about that. And I mean, you're obviously among them.
Thank you.
And there's some wild stories. So it's cool hearing your story. I love the journey that y'all went on, you and your husband. I love the whole Papua New Guinea part. It's a really cool, we kind of dipped in that a little bit because Leah's been on the podcast and we kind of talked about her story a little bit. So we know a little bit about that world, but it's kind of cool hearing your perspective of it.
Yeah. So where can people listen to your podcast?
So it's on 11 different platforms.
Oh, wow.
And the main ones are going to be Apple and Spotify. But there's like Podbeam and there's a few other ones that you can find. So if you have a favorite, you can always look it up. So we're kind of considering this being season 2.
Okay.
So some of season 1 is on YouTube, but we're putting all of season 2 on YouTube.
Oh, I love that. People like to watch.
Yeah, there is, and when I first did this, I was in a different world. And the season 1, those are mostly going to be like a picture overlay with just the audio.
Okay.
Season 2, we're physically recording it on video and then publishing a video on YouTube. Facebook actually now has a podcast. I believe it's only on the phone, so you can't find it very easily on. You can find it sometimes when someone shares it. Okay. But it's hard to find the actual page that the podcasts are on Facebook. But if you're on your phone, you can go to Dead Cat's page, and there'll be a little tab at the top that says podcast, and you can click the podcast, and it'll take you to the podcast.
Awesome.
Inside of Facebook, which is really cool, and I think it's going to be a game changer for listeners because it's easier.
Yes. The less clicks, the better, right?
So those are our primary locations for people to go. We do have, I don't want to give very much away because I want people to be excited for it, but we do have some really cool ideas for where the podcast is going to go. There's kind of a whole spider web plan that, when I watch some behind the scenes of movies, people have this, they have the beginning and then they have the end and then they have all the stuff that happens in between to get you to the end.
Yes.
I kind of feel like that's where we're at. We have this really cool idea for where the podcast and the things associated to the podcast are going to go. But we're at the very beginning of it, launching it back up, and it's kind of cool seeing that spider web of stuff. So I really hope people start listening and start and stays tuned because there's some really cool stuff that we're going to do.
Yay. Well, little cliffhanger. I can't wait.
Right. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. Yep. This was fun.
Awesome. Well, as always, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.